I'm about to show you a painting. But this isn't something you simply look at and move on. This is a mechanism. A device. A trap. Hieronymus Bosch's The Garden of Earthly Delights is not just a painting. It is a triptych, 3 panels that open and close like doors. And Bosch seems to have designed these doors for one purpose: to pull you inside before you even realize what you're looking at. Because this painting does not allow you to stay passive. It does not tell you what to think. It forces you to choose, to interpret, to feel uneasy, to keep looking, and that's why, more than 500 years later, it still feels modern. Still disturbing, still viral. The painting is generally dated between 1490 and 1510, during Bosch's mature period. Today, it hangs in the Prado Museum in Madrid. But the date is not the important part. The important part is this: when you open this painting, you are not simply seeing heaven and hell. You are seeing an X-ray of human nature. Some art historians interpret the central panel as a moral warning, a vision of humanity indulging in fleeting pleasures that ultimately lead to damnation. Others argue that the meaning is far more ambiguous, that it might represent a lost paradise, or even an alternate version of humanity's existence. There is no single interpretation, and that is precisely Bosch's genius. He does not give you answers. He gives you a labyrinth. Now pause for a moment. The most brilliant thing about this work is that it begins even before it opens. When the triptych is closed, the outer panels show a muted, almost monochrome image of the world, often interpreted as the earth during the 3rd day of creation. The waters have separated, land has formed, but life, color, and chaos have not yet exploded into existence. The world appears like a fragile glass sphere, delicate, contained, uncertain. Bosch seems to whisper something to you even here. Everything you are about to see was already fragile before it began. When the panels open, the left side reveals what appears to be paradise. We see Adam, Eve, and a divine figure presenting them to one another. At first glance, this seems like a peaceful beginning. But Bosch's paradise is not entirely calm. There is something slightly unsettling. The animals are not all gentle. Some are exotic, some strange, some almost nightmarish. Nature here is not soft and comforting. It is beautiful and threatening at the same time. Even in paradise, something feels unstable. Bosch does not present the fall as a single dramatic moment with a forbidden fruit. Instead, it feels like something quieter begins to grow: curiosity, desire, the urge to test boundaries. And that subtle shift, that small crack in perfection, flows directly into the central panel. Now we arrive at the heart of the painting. The central panel is the part that captures everyone's attention. Hundreds of nude figures, oversized fruits, strange birds, transparent shells, unreal structures. The first reaction is usually, is this a celebration? Is this paradise? Is this a dream? The Prado Museum describes this work as Bosch's most complex and mysterious creation, and the central panel is the reason why. But to understand it, we cannot simply list strange details. We must understand the logic. This panel feels like an anatomy of pleasure. Let's break it down into 3 mechanisms. One of the most striking elements in the center are the enormous fruits. Not normal fruits, massive ones. People carry them, climb into them, hide inside them. Why fruit? Because fruit symbolizes taste, sweetness, temptation. But fruit also decays quickly. It rots. Pleasure is similar. Bosch seems to suggest that pleasure grows larger the more we focus on it. It begins small, it becomes central, it expands until it dominates our vision. And eventually, instead of consuming pleasure, pleasure consumes us. That's why people here do not merely eat fruit, they are swallowed by it. Look closer at the central pool and the movement around it. There is a sense of procession, a rhythm, a loop. Bosch's brilliance lies here. These figures are not committing dramatic sins. They are caught in repetition. Pleasure, repeat, more stimulation, repeat again. It feels incredibly modern, because today, most people are not chasing evil. They are chasing repetition, more distraction, more stimulation, more instant reward. Bosch paints not a crime, but a cycle. In the central panel, you see delicate transparent spheres and shell-like structures. People hide inside them. From the outside, they look pure and beautiful. But they feel fragile, like a happiness inside a glass bubble. It appears protected, but one crack, and everything collapses. Bosch's paradise feels slightly too bright, slightly too crowded, slightly too perfect, and dreams, when overstretched, turn into nightmares. Then suddenly, night falls. Color fades, warmth disappears. The right panel reveals hell. But Bosch's hell is not a simple fiery pit. It looks like a city in chaos. Burning structures, destruction, mechanical torment. This hell does not feel supernatural. It feels man-made, and that is the crucial difference. Bosch does not paint hell as an external monster. He paints it as a consequence. Hell is not something that attacks humanity. It is something humanity builds. One of the most famous sections of the right panel is what scholars call the musician's hell. Huge instruments dominate the scene. Harps, lutes, drums. But music here is not joy. It is punishment. The same tools that might represent celebration in the central panel now become devices of torment. Bosch's message is sharp. If pleasure becomes your only compass, it eventually turns into your cage. At the center of the right panel stands the unforgettable tree man. A hollow, egg-like torso, broken branch legs, a strangely human face. This figure feels personal. Some interpretations suggest it may resemble Bosch himself, though that remains speculative. But what matters is this. Hell here does not look like a demon. It looks like a distorted version of ourselves. Hell becomes psychological, not a place, a state. The punishments in Bosch's hell often seem tailored. Actions in the center transform into twisted consequences on the right. The logic suggests something medieval but also timeless. Desire, when unchecked, creates its own destruction. Bosch is not simply saying, evil exists. He is saying, when desire becomes your compass, the compass eventually leads you somewhere dark. Now step back. Left panel, creation and fragile order. Center panel, pleasure and illusion. Right panel, consequence and collapse. These are not three separate paintings. They are three stages of a single thought. Humanity may believe it stands in paradise, but pleasure can imitate paradise. And when imitation replaces truth, collapse follows. Bosch does not give us a moral lecture. He gives us a mirror. Many YouTube videos about this painting focus on the weird creatures. Others drown the viewer in academic language. But Bosch's real power is neither shock nor theory. It is structure. This is not just a strange painting. It is a psychological system. Pleasure, habit, consequence. And suddenly, the painting stops being medieval. It becomes contemporary. Let me ask you one final question. What is the most terrifying part of this painting? Is it hell? Or is it the fact that hell grows quietly in the center, while everyone appears happy? Because Bosch does not place horror only in darkness. He places horror in brightness. And maybe that is his final message. Evil rarely enters through a dark door. It often enters through a bright one. In Bosch's world, every detail is not decoration. Every detail is a lock. And we are just beginning to turn the key.